Bhanwari Devi was an ordinary nurse from Rajasthan, but her life unfolded like a suspense thriller. Unlike influential politicians or celebrities, she held no major position of power. However, she became entangled in a web of secrets so dangerous that her disappearance sent shockwaves across the country. What made her case even more chilling was that it revolved around a single CD, one that allegedly contained footage capable of bringing down a powerful minister and shaking the government. One day, Bhanwari Devi mysteriously vanished without a trace, leaving behind no clues, no warnings, and no goodbyes. The case escalated so dramatically that even the American FBI had to step in to investigate. But how did a simple nurse end up in such a dangerous situation? Bhanwari Devi was born in a small village in the Kishangarh area of Ajmer district, Rajasthan. She came from an extremely poor family, where survival was a daily struggle. Her parents worked as daily wage laborers, earning just enough to put food on the table. Despite their hardships, Bhanwari managed to receive an education up to the 8th grade in a local government school. However, further studies were out of the question due to financial constraints. Life became even more challenging when her father died in an accident, leaving her mother to take care of the family alone. With no source of stable income, her mother faced tremendous difficulties in raising her children. When it was time for Bhanwari and her sisters to get married, her mother had no choice but to arrange all 3 weddings simultaneously. Bhanwari was just 18 years old when she was married off. Her new home was in Barunda village, in Jalore district, where she moved to live with her husband and in-laws. Bhanwari's married life was far from happy. Her husband, Amar Chand, worked as a driver but was heavily addicted to alcohol. His drinking problem led to frequent arguments and financial instability, making Bhanwari's life even more difficult. Despite these struggles, she did not lose hope. She wanted to support herself and contribute to her household, but opportunities were scarce for a woman with limited education. Fortunately, her father-in-law, who was employed in the health department, helped her secure a job as an assistant nurse in the same department. In 1999, she was posted at a hospital in Gagamer, a location far from her in-laws' home. While this job provided financial relief, it also meant being away from her family for extended periods. Despite her modest background, Bhanwari Devi was an exceptionally beautiful woman. One day, while working at the hospital, she caught the attention of a man who made an unexpected offer. He asked if she was interested in acting in films. At first, she was shocked, but the idea of becoming an actress excited her. It seemed like a golden opportunity to escape her struggles and build a better life. Without much hesitation, she agreed. She soon started acting in Rajasthani films and local music albums, slowly making a name for herself in the entertainment industry. However, her new passion conflicted with her duties as a nurse. She frequently skipped work to attend film shoots, hoping that acting would eventually become her full-time career. As Bhanwari's involvement in films increased, so did her absences from her nursing job. She knew she couldn't keep missing work without consequences, so she started using her growing network of contacts to protect her position. One of the most powerful people she got close to was Malkhan Singh Bishnoi, a Congress MLA who represented the Luni constituency. He was a well-known politician with significant influence in the region. Over time, Bhanwari built a strong connection with him, ensuring that she had someone powerful on her side whenever she needed help. This relationship would later become the turning point in her life, pulling her deeper into the world of politics, power, and corruption. Bhanwari Devi's growing fame in the entertainment industry came at a cost. While she was busy acting in Rajasthani films and music albums, her responsibilities as a nurse were being neglected. She frequently skipped work, and her absence did not go unnoticed. Patients and hospital staff started complaining about her irregular attendance. Despite her influential connections, the situation was getting out of control. In 2009, an official complaint was filed against her, stating that she hardly ever showed up at the hospital. When the district administration investigated, they found the complaint to be true. As a result, the district collector took strict action and suspended her from duty. Bhanwari was now in deep trouble. Losing her government job was a major setback, not just financially, but also socially. She had worked hard to build a comfortable life, and she knew that if she didn't act fast, everything could slip away. She realized that this was not just about a job, it was about power. If she wanted to survive in this world, she needed to secure her position. This realization pushed her to seek help from the powerful connections she had cultivated over time. Desperate to regain her job, Bhanwari Devi turned to Malkhan Singh Bishnoi, the Congress MLA she had developed a close relationship with. She knew that only someone with strong political influence could overturn her suspension. Malkhan Singh understood the situation and knew the impact that Bhanwari's downfall could have on him as well. He decided to take her to someone even more powerful, Mahipal Maderna. Mahipal Maderna was a senior leader in Rajasthan's Congress Party and held the position of Minister of Water Resources. He was not just a politician but a man with immense authority in the state government. Bhanwari was introduced to him with the hope that he could use his power to get her job back. Mahipal Maderna agreed to help, and soon, Bhanwari's suspension was lifted. Not only was she reinstated, but she was also transferred to a hospital near her in-laws' home, making it easier for her to balance her personal and professional life. However, nothing in politics comes for free. Bhanwari had secured a favor from a powerful minister, but she would soon realize that this favor came with a heavy price. She was now entangled in a deeper and more dangerous web of power, influence, and corruption. With her job secured and her political connections growing stronger, Bhanwari Devi started to see herself in a new light. She was no longer just a nurse or an aspiring actress, she was a woman who had the attention and support of some of the most influential leaders in the state. She began spending more time in political circles, attending high-profile gatherings, and strengthening her relationships with powerful men. Her growing influence made her ambitious. She no longer wanted to remain in the shadows of politicians, she wanted to become one of them. Bhanwari started dreaming of a political career of her own. She wanted to contest elections and become an MLA. At first, Malkhan Singh Bishnoi and Mahipal Maderna did not take her ambitions seriously. They had helped her in the past, but the idea of her entering politics as their equal made them uneasy. They saw her as someone they controlled, not as someone who could challenge them. But Bhanwari was determined. She knew that power in politics was not just about influence, it was about leverage. And she had leverage. Over the years, she had been involved in close relationships with these politicians, and she had proof that could destroy their careers if it ever came to light. This is when she made a bold and dangerous move. She claimed to have a CD containing private moments between her and Mahipal Maderna. This single CD would become the most dangerous weapon in her possession, setting off a series of events that would ultimately lead to her mysterious disappearance. Bhanwari Devi had climbed the ladder of power through her connections with influential politicians, but now she wanted more. She wanted to become an MLA. However, her ambitions made the very people who had supported her nervous. Malkhan Singh Bishnoi and Mahipal Maderna, the two politicians she was closest to, were not ready to let her rise to a position where she could challenge their authority. Realizing that they were trying to suppress her aspirations, Bhanwari decided to take a drastic step. She revealed that she possessed a CD containing private and intimate footage of her and Mahipal Maderna. The video, which was around 53 minutes long, was filled with explicit content that could destroy Maderna's career, damage his reputation, and shake the Rajasthan government if it ever got leaked. Bhanwari made it clear, if she was not given a ticket to contest the elections, she would release the CD to the public. This revelation sent shockwaves through Maderna's camp. He was a senior minister with a powerful position in the Congress-led Rajasthan government. If the scandal became public, it would not only end his political career but also put the entire party in crisis. Bhanwari had turned from a trusted ally into a serious threat, and Maderna knew he had to act before things got out of control. As news of Bhanwari's threat spread, the situation became more intense. The opposition party, BJP, got wind of the existence of the CD and saw an opportunity. If the CD were leaked, it would be a major scandal that could bring down the Congress government in Rajasthan. Sensing a chance to weaken their rivals, BJP leaders approached Bhanwari and offered her their support. If she handed over the CD to them, they would help her in her political journey. Meanwhile, Maderna grew increasingly desperate. He knew Bhanwari was serious, and if she joined the opposition with the CD, it would be catastrophic. He tried to persuade her to drop the matter, but she refused to back down. Realizing that she was determined to use the CD as leverage, Maderna decided to strike a deal with her. He agreed to pay her Rs 60 lakh, around $80,000 at the time, in exchange for the CD. Bhanwari, however, was not foolish. She knew the risk she was taking by blackmailing a powerful minister. To ensure her safety, she made multiple copies of the CD and hid them in different locations, including one in her bank locker in Jodhpur. She believed that having backup copies would protect her in case Maderna or his men tried to harm her. But she underestimated just how far they were willing to go. A date and location were set for the exchange. Bhanwari was told to bring the CD to a meeting where the money would be handed over to her. On the designated day, she left her house carrying the CD, unaware that she was walking into a carefully laid trap. She was picked up in a Bolero vehicle, and inside the car, a setup was arranged to check the contents of the CD. As soon as the CD was inserted, the video began playing. For the next 52 to 53 minutes, the men in the vehicle watched the explicit footage, confirming that Bhanwari had indeed been telling the truth. At this point, she expected the deal to go as planned. But suddenly, something unexpected happened. The car changed direction. This immediately made Bhanwari uneasy. She realized that they were not heading toward the agreed-upon meeting place. Her heart began to race as fear gripped her. She tried to question them, but before she could react, the men in the vehicle grabbed her. As soon as Bhanwari began shouting for help, the men pinned her down between the seats. One of them tightly gripped her throat and started strangling her. She struggled, gasping for air, but their grip was too strong. Within moments, her body went still. Bhanwari Devi was dead. The killers had a plan for disposing of her body. They drove to a remote location where a furnace had already been prepared. When they arrived, they pulled out her lifeless body and threw it into the raging fire. The flames consumed her completely, ensuring that no trace of her remained. The men stood there, watching, making sure that every last piece of evidence was destroyed. Back at her home, no one immediately suspected anything. Bhanwari often disappeared for several days due to her work and political activities, so her husband, Amar Chand, assumed she would return soon. But as days passed and there was no sign of her, worry began to grow. Her disappearance would soon turn into one of the most shocking murder cases in Rajasthan's history. After Bhanwari Devi vanished, her absence did not raise immediate concerns. Her husband, Amar Chand, had become accustomed to her frequent trips due to her professional and political engagements. He assumed she would return in a few days, just as she always had. However, as days turned into a week and there was still no sign of her, concern began to grow among her family members. They reached out to her close friends and associates, but no one seemed to know her whereabouts. Panic set in when even her political connections remained silent about her sudden disappearance. Meanwhile, the opposition party, the Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP, had already been aware of Bhanwari Devi's movements. They knew that she had been negotiating with them, revealing details of a CD that could expose top leaders of the ruling Congress party. When news of her disappearance surfaced, they immediately suspected foul play. The BJP leaders claimed that the Congress leaders, Mahipal Maderna and Malkhan Singh Bishnoi, had orchestrated her abduction and possible murder to cover up the scandal. The party began mobilizing protests, demanding immediate action from the Rajasthan government. The media quickly picked up the story. Initially, the coverage was limited, but as more information emerged about Bhanwari Devi's powerful political connections and the controversial CD, the case became national news. The pressure on the Rajasthan government increased, with journalists and opposition leaders questioning whether the Congress administration was shielding its own ministers from scrutiny. The ruling party initially tried to dismiss the claims, suggesting that Bhanwari had disappeared of her own will, but the public was not convinced. As protests intensified, local police were forced to take action. They began an official investigation into her disappearance, questioning her husband, relatives, and political acquaintances. However, there was little progress in the case, leading to growing doubts about the impartiality of the state police. The opposition and the media strongly criticized the government's handling of the matter, leading to public outrage and demands for an independent investigation. Eventually, under immense political and public pressure, the Rajasthan government reluctantly handed over the case to the Central Bureau of Investigation, CBI. Once the CBI took over, the investigation gained significant momentum. Unlike the local police, who seemed hesitant to pursue the case aggressively, the CBI was determined to uncover the truth. The first step was tracing Bhanwari Devi's last known location and identifying who she had met before her disappearance. The agency collected her phone records, financial transactions, and CCTV footage from nearby areas. The biggest breakthrough came when CCTV footage revealed that on the night she disappeared, Bhanwari Devi had been seen getting into a white Bolero SUV. The vehicle was soon traced back to associates of Mahipal Maderna, confirming suspicions that she had been taken by people linked to the powerful minister. The CBI detained and interrogated several aides of Maderna and Bishnoi, but most remained tight-lipped, fearing repercussions. However, after relentless questioning, one of the arrested men finally broke down and confessed. His testimony was chilling. Bhanwari Devi had been killed inside the vehicle itself. He detailed how, once she was inside, the car had suddenly changed its route, making her uneasy. Sensing danger, she began shouting for help, but the men inside quickly overpowered her. One of them wrapped his hands around her neck and began strangling her, while the others held her down. Within minutes, she had stopped struggling. Bhanwari Devi was dead. According to the confession, her body was then transported to a remote area where the men had already arranged a burning furnace. They threw her body into the fire, ensuring that all physical evidence was destroyed. To further eliminate any traces, they burned her personal belongings, except for a few items, which were later discovered by forensic teams. With this confession, the CBI now had a clear murder case. The next challenge was to find forensic evidence to confirm the crime. The CBI's biggest challenge was proving the murder beyond doubt. Though the confession was a strong lead, they needed scientific evidence to back up their case. Investigators combed through the crime scene where the body had been burned, recovering charred bones and ashes. These remains were sent for DNA testing to establish whether they belonged to Bhanwari Devi. However, the first forensic report brought a shocking twist. The recovered bones were not human. This unexpected development threatened to derail the entire case. Without Bhanwari Devi's body, the accused could argue that there was no murder at all. Recognizing the need for advanced forensic expertise, the CBI made a historic decision. They approached the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, in the United States for help. This marked the first time in Indian history that the FBI was involved in a domestic criminal case. The FBI conducted highly sophisticated DNA testing on the bone samples and sent back their report. The findings confirmed that the remains were indeed human and matched Bhanwari Devi's DNA. This was the crucial evidence the prosecution needed. Around the same time, the CBI launched an intensive search for the infamous CD that had been at the center of the scandal. After combing through Bhanwari Devi's personal and financial records, they discovered her bank locker in Jodhpur. When officials opened it, they found the damning evidence, the CD containing an explicit 53-minute video of Mahipal Maderna with Bhanwari Devi. The contents of the CD left no room for doubt. The footage clearly showed Maderna in intimate situations with Bhanwari Devi, proving that she had been using it as leverage. The CD was the ultimate proof of motive. Maderna had the strongest reason to eliminate Bhanwari Devi before she could expose him. With both forensic confirmation and the CD in hand, the CBI moved swiftly to arrest Mahipal Maderna, Malkhan Singh Bishnoi, and several of their aides. The arrests of Mahipal Maderna and Malkhan Singh Bishnoi sent shockwaves across Rajasthan. These were not just small-time politicians. They were well-connected, influential leaders with deep roots in the Congress party. Their involvement in such a scandalous case was a massive blow to the ruling government. The opposition, led by the BJP, used the arrests as ammunition against Congress, demanding resignations and stricter laws against political corruption. As the case went to trial, the courtroom turned into a battleground. The defense, composed of high-profile lawyers, tried every possible legal loophole to weaken the prosecution's case. They argued that Bhanwari Devi had willingly engaged with politicians for personal gain, and that the CD was fabricated. They even tried to discredit the forensic findings, questioning the validity of the FBI's report. Despite these efforts, the prosecution presented solid evidence: the confessions, the CD, the forensic reports, and testimonies from witnesses. Public sentiment was strongly against the accused, with protests and social media campaigns demanding swift justice. However, despite the overwhelming evidence, legal delays began slowing down the case. Over time, one by one, the accused secured bail, walking free while the case dragged on in court. This angered Bhanwari Devi's family, who felt that the legal system was protecting the powerful while denying justice to the victim. As of today, the case remains unresolved. While Mahipal Maderna later passed away, other accused individuals continue to fight legal battles. Bhanwari Devi's family still waits for closure, while the public watches, hoping for justice in one of India's most shocking political murder cases. As Bhanwari Devi's disappearance turned into a full-blown political scandal, pressure mounted on the Rajasthan government to conduct a fair and transparent investigation. The local police, widely accused of deliberately delaying the case, faced intense scrutiny from the opposition, the media, and the general public. Protests erupted across the state, with activists and opposition leaders demanding an independent probe. The ruling Congress government, which initially tried to downplay the case, realized that the controversy could no longer be contained. Under relentless pressure, the government was forced to hand over the case to the Central Bureau of Investigation, CBI. The decision marked a turning point as it signified that even those in power could no longer control the narrative. Unlike the local police, which could be influenced by political figures, the CBI had a reputation for handling high-profile cases with a degree of autonomy. The moment the CBI took charge, it re-examined every aspect of Bhanwari Devi's life and disappearance, from her political connections to her financial records and personal relationships. One of the CBI's first moves was to analyze call records and digital evidence. Investigators traced phone conversations between Bhanwari and some of the most powerful figures in Rajasthan politics, including Mahipal Maderna and Malkhan Singh Bishnoi. Their analysis revealed that Bhanwari had been in frequent contact with both men in the days leading up to her disappearance, suggesting that something significant had transpired. The investigation also turned toward Bhanwari's financial transactions. Her sudden rise in wealth, from a modest nursing salary to owning property and expensive assets, raised suspicions. The CBI questioned her close associates, film industry contacts, and political allies, trying to determine how deeply she was entangled in the power struggles of Rajasthan's elite. It became clear that her ambitions had made her a threat to those who once supported her. However, despite the CBI's progress, the biggest mystery remained unsolved. Where was Bhanwari Devi's body? If she had truly been killed, why was there no clear forensic evidence? If she had been burned, was there anything left to prove it? These questions posed serious legal challenges, as the absence of a body made it difficult to build a solid murder case. While the investigation progressed, the media played a crucial role in keeping the case alive. Every new detail became a headline, increasing public anger. Political leaders who once denied any connection to Bhanwari now found themselves on the defensive. The CBI knew that if it did not act quickly, the accused could use their influence to erase or manipulate evidence. With the stakes higher than ever, investigators turned to forensic science for answers. One of the most challenging aspects of the case was proving beyond doubt that Bhanwari Devi had been murdered. The CBI received information from witnesses that she had been strangled inside a vehicle and then burned in an abandoned furnace to destroy all traces of her body. However, proving this claim required physical evidence. Investigators searched the site where Bhanwari's body was allegedly burned. At first, there was nothing but ashes, charred debris, and unidentifiable bone fragments. However, as forensic experts sifted through the remains, they found a wristwatch and a ring, both believed to belong to Bhanwari. This was the first tangible clue suggesting that the site had been used to dispose of her body. The biggest challenge, however, was identifying the recovered bones. Initial forensic tests conducted in India concluded that the bones were not human but belonged to an animal. This was a shocking setback. If the remains weren't human, then how could the prosecution prove that Bhanwari had been murdered? This discrepancy also raised suspicions that powerful individuals were trying to manipulate forensic reports. Realizing that they needed more advanced forensic analysis, the CBI made an unprecedented decision. They sought the help of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, in the United States. The move was highly unusual, as Indian criminal cases rarely involved international agencies. However, the CBI believed that the FBI's cutting-edge forensic labs could determine the truth once and for all. The FBI conducted DNA analysis on the bone samples. After several weeks of testing, they sent their final report to the CBI. The results were shocking. The FBI confirmed that the remains were human and belonged to Bhanwari Devi. This was the biggest breakthrough in the case. It proved scientifically and legally that Bhanwari had been murdered and that attempts had been made to destroy her body. With the forensic evidence now backing their investigation, the CBI prepared to make high-profile arrests. Mahipal Maderna, Malkan Singh Bishnoi, and several others who were believed to be involved in Bhanwari's disappearance were called in for questioning once again. This time, they could no longer deny their involvement. Armed with forensic evidence and witness statements, the CBI moved swiftly. Mahipal Maderna was the first to be arrested, followed by Malkan Singh Bishnoi. The arrests sent shockwaves through Rajasthan's political circles. The Congress Party, already struggling with allegations of corruption, faced a major embarrassment. The arrests also had major political consequences. The opposition used the scandal to attack the ruling party, claiming that the government had tried to protect its ministers. Nationwide protests erupted, with demands for a full-fledged investigation into political crimes and corruption. As the case moved to court, the CD containing Bhanwari's intimate videos with Mahipal Maderna was submitted as evidence. The defense lawyers tried to discredit it, claiming that it was manipulated footage meant to trap their client. However, forensic analysis confirmed that the video was authentic. Despite the overwhelming evidence, the case dragged on for years. The accused used their influence to delay proceedings, filing multiple appeals and using legal loopholes to avoid conviction. Meanwhile, Bhanwari's family and supporters continued their fight for justice, refusing to let the case be forgotten. More than a decade has passed since Bhanwari Devi's disappearance, yet the case remains unresolved. While the key accused were arrested, they secured bail and continued to live freely. Despite FBI forensic evidence, witness statements, and digital proof, the case has been stuck in legal battles. The Indian judiciary, known for its slow-moving legal system, has yet to deliver a final verdict. The delays have raised concerns about political influence over the justice system. Many believe that if a case with so much evidence can be stalled, then justice is truly a privilege for the powerful. Bhanwari's story serves as a cautionary tale about power, ambition, and corruption. Her rise from a simple nurse to a woman who dared to challenge the political elite made her a threat. Her fate was a reminder of how dangerous it is to challenge those in power. Even though Bhanwari is no longer alive, her case continues to haunt Rajasthan's political landscape. The fight for justice is ongoing, and her supporters hope that one day, those responsible for her murder will be held accountable.